inducers. I used to remember it. We take ECG, no? Forget about ECG, remember BCG. Rules are for fools, right? ECG wave, what are the waves in ECG? P wave, Q wave, R wave, S wave. Remember BCG, PQRS. B is barbiturates, C is carbamazepine, G is greasepromazine, P is phenytoin, Q is quinidine, R is rifampicin, and S is St. John's wort. St. John's wort is one of the addictive drug, basically. So you can remember easily BCG, PQRS. Inhibitors. What makes you feel sick? Taking a peg of alcohol. And taking a peg of alcohol removes your inhibitions. You start talking truth. Right? So inhibitors are remembered by PEG-SIC. P is proton pump inhibitor. Sorry, P is protease inhibitors in the antiretroviral drugs. Protease inhibitors. Erythromycin, grapefruit juice, G is sulfonamides, INH, cimetidine, ketoconazole. Rifampicin comes under which group? Inducer. INH, cimetidine, ketoconazole, they come under inhibitors. That's what the point is. That's all the story, doctor. Any question asked about inducers, inhibitors, you should remember the list. So what is a prodrug? Prodrug is inactive form that is transformed in the body, ultimately for it to become an active drug. Levodopa is the prodrug of, levodopa is a drug which we use in Parkinsonism. Parkinsonism is a movement disorder. Why Parkinsonism occurred? In your neurotransmitters, is it fine? In the neurotransmitters, dopamine should be produced for the movement to occur. Any depletion of the dopamine in the neurotransmitters will, in the brain will lead to, in the basal ganglia will lead to diminished movement. Okay, doctor? So, how do you treat it? By increasing the dopamine levels in the basal ganglia. So, when you give levodopa, levodopa enters into brain from systemic circulation, transforms into dopamine by the action of a decarboxylase. Then dopamine levels in brain increase and movement once more restores. But the levodopa has a tendency to convert into dopamine in peripherally only before going to brain. Do you want that or you don't want? You don't want. So you have to prevent that peripheral conversion. How? By inhibiting the decarboxylase. So what drug do we give? We give a drug called carbidopa. Carbidopa is an inhibitor of the decarboxylase, so that levodopa is prevented from converting peripherally. It will go to brain, and after going to brain, it converts dopamine. Hence levodopa is an example of prodrug, is what you need to remember. So levodopa alone peripherally destroyed. You want to go into brain, combine one decarboxylase inhibitor. Sulindac. Sulindac is similar to indomethacin. It is a prodrug. And after you give Sulindac, produces sulfide metabolite, which is then ultimately an active anti-inflammatory. It has an anti-inflammatory property. Elampicillin, pivampicillin, hetacillin, they are all the prodrugs of ampicillin. So common MCQ asked in the MDS entrance is, which is a prodrug out of all this? Enalapril is an example of prodrug. Now let us go through the various prodrugs. Levodopa, prodrug of dopamine. Enalaprilat is the ultimate active form actually. Enalapril is an antihypertensive. Alpha methyl dopa become alpha methyl norepinephrine. Depinephrine becomes epinephrine. Sulindac produces sulfide metabolite. Ramapril produces ramaprilat. And talampicillin, elampicillin, pivampicillin, they are the prodrugs of ampicillin. Similarly, progvanil. Progvanil is an anti-malarial drug that forms progvanil triazine after entering body. That is a ultimate anti-malarial. Prednisone is prodrug which we take. Bisolone tablets we take, no? Prednisone. Prednisone becomes prednisolone, which is the active ingredient. Sulfasalazine, which you give in ulcerative colitis patients, inflammatory bowel disease, transforms into 5-amino-salicylate, which is the active form of it. Cyclophosphamide, which you give as a antineoplastic drug, becomes aldophosphamide. 5-fluorouracil, which you administer, become 5-fluorouridine. Mercaptopurine, which you give as an antineoplastic, ultimately forms methyl mercaptopurine, so on and so forth. Now, doctor, let's talk about drug trials, which is another favorite issue for the examiner. Phase 1, phase 2, 3 and 4. Ultimately, you are that luxurious orthodontist, prosthodontist sitting in a air conditioned hospital. All dentists are that way privileged. Physicians sit in a small OPD in a end of a lane with mosquitoes biting after doing MD general medicine. But dentists, you sit in an air conditioned environment, you have a beautiful front office. Anybody comes, they see 32 teeth available for treating. Oh, very lucrative profession, doctor. Now I am recognizing, after interacting with a lot of dentists to become our teachers, it's more easy to get one of my cardiology classmates. Hi, shall we meet up? Yeah, why not? We catch up at coffee, is easy. But you ask dentist, no, upper 2 teeth are there for before lunch, lower 2 teeth are there after lunch, and post supper there are few more teeth left over, second molar, I got very, very precious tooth. No time to meet a schoolmate also. So, that way very lucrative profession, MDS. So, doctor, when you are waiting in your OPD, when you are sitting in your chamber, you have a medical representative coming and explaining about a new drug which has come, formulation, etc. But how the drugs are ultimately evolved? First thing is phase 0. Phase 0 mein what will you do? A new molecule is discovered. Will that molecule will go and affect the target receptor or not? Is basically checked in the phase 0 trial. What is phase 1? Okay, it is acting on receptors, or alpha 1 receptor, beta 1 receptors, it is acting. You want to know the safety. Okay, this is an anti-cancer drug. Please bring the people who are terminally cancerous. No option is there for them to survive. So it is used on the volunteers to know the safety, because they are ready to check the adverse effects of it. So phase 1 trial mainly has 3 important objectives whenever you use the phase 1 trial. What is that? First, what is the better dosage? Micrograms, milligrams, kilograms, how many grams we want to give. Second objective of phase 1 trial, to learn how the drug is metabolized. Is it kidney, is it liver, who is clearing this drug? You want to know that. Third goal is, what are the negative side effects caused by the drug? That is the main role of phase 1 trial. Common MCQ asked in exam. What is the role of each phases of these 4 trials? So then you go to phase 2. In this, okay, you found that safety profile is fine. There are adverse effects like nausea, vomiting, tinnitus, but they are not severe enough that they kill the guy. Right? So then you want to know the efficacy. Efficacy. So how much dosage is required for it to show its effect? So that you will be knowing with the phase 2. Is it able to ultimately achieve that therapeutic endpoint or not? Efficacy. So you want to know it in phase 2 trial. Phase 3 you conduct in a large population. In Beijing in China, Thiruvananthapuram in India, Tokyo in Japan, and Tennessee in America. You have done in all these places using the same drug in a large population, how it is acting on Asians, Africans, Europeans, Americans. To know large population efficacy, phase 3. Phase 4, okay. the Federation of Drug Control said, okay, you release the drug. After you release the drug, when the population is taking, after a few days, after a few months, we came to know that, oh, this drug is causing a lot of heart attacks. This drug is causing men to divorce their women. Psychiatric depression it is bringing. People are jumping from buildings after taking this drug. Initially, animals did not show those tendency. Small population did not show that tendency. But if a patient is taking the drug for about 6 to 8 months, then he started jumping, started showing depression. Don't use it. It is suicidal depression. People are getting due to the drug. So, long-term effect of a drug will be known only after post-marketing surveillance if you do, which is then called phase 4. Phase 4 trial is what need to be remembered. So, doctor, you will remember all these things, no? Phase 4 is post-marketing. Phase 3 is large population efficacy. Phase 2 is small population efficacy. Phase 1 is to know the safety. Phase 0 is whether it is acting on receptor or not. But this you need to be very clear. What is that? Drug product's original name is called as generic name. In India, your next gully doctor writes a prescription, you don't know what brand it is. Because every doctor keep writing different brands. One will say Nirma soap is good, other will say Verma soap is good. So what is Voveron? Voveron is a brand. But diclofenac sodium is generic name. So brand names are Voveron, Dicloron, so many runs, but they are not the ones to be remembered. What you need to remember? Diclofenac sodium is what you need to remember. Now adult dose is 30 milligrams, a child is 3 years, what will be his dose is a important question in pharmacology. For that you need to know few formulas. How to calculate the dose depending on the age and calculation of surface area. So Young has produced a formula, Young formula. Age of the child by age plus 12 into adult dose will give you the dose required in child. Age by 20 into adult dose is called Dilling's formula. Child weight in pounds divided by 150 into adult dose is a way to calculate child dose. Whichever the way you do it, if adult dose is given, you must know how to calculate the child dose is what need to be remembered. Whenever you are using NSAIDs in children, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, what is most important? Body weight of child. You can't give an adult dose to a child just because he has a dental pain. NSAIDs you use it commonly, but you know how to calculate the child dose of a given painkiller. The loading dose depends on what? Now we come to a very, very important concept. I hope the internet connection doesn't switch off suddenly before we finish the concept. Yeah. What's the time? 12? 11:15. Oh, time is running fast. Is it running fast or slow? Huh? Loading dose depends on what? End of the day, you must go with full confidence. We are sure on any question in entrance about pharmacokinetics and dynamics. Okay, doc? It depends on volume of distribution. Let us talk about this concept. Why do you need to give loading dose? For some drugs, but not for all drugs. For every drug do you give loading dose? No, you don't give. For paracetamol do you give loading dose? No. Why for only some drugs you want to give loading dose but not for all? Very simple. Very simple. Whenever you give drug, ultimately it will show its effect after reaching the steady state concentration. Just before what did we discuss? Only after 4 to 5 half-lives have passed, the drug will reach the steady state concentration. Suppose if I have a drug whose half-life is 5 days. For me to achieve steady state concentration, how many doses should be completed? I need to give repeated doses per 5 into 4, 20 days, before which it shows its reaches the therapeutic concentration, steady state concentration, for it to show its effect. Before that, patient will die. So any drug which has a long half-life, since it takes a long time before reaching the steady state concentration, because steady state concentration is achieved after 4 to 5 half-lives. So for such drugs you require to give loading dose, is what you need to basically understand. Digoxin, teicoplanin, voriconazole is a antifungal, procainamide is an antiarrhythmic, digoxin is a very common drug used for treating the arrhythmias, and it is also inotropic. All these drugs have a long half-life, hence they require a loading dose, is what need to be remembered. How will you calculate loading dose? There are 4 variables that decide the loading dose. First, what is the